Hey, what's up,
What
everybody? How you
up?
doing?
What up? Hey,
Uh,
hey.
Corey here with Grant, as always. Got a really exciting live show today that we've been anxious to bring you for a little while, and managed to make it happen. And we're super stoked about this.
Corey, where are you right now? Where are you recording? Where in the world is Corey Knowles?
Where in the world is Corey Knowles? Today, Corey Knowles is in the Encore in Vegas. I've been at AWS reInvent all week,
How's
and
that been? How'd you like it?
oh, it's wild. It was a lot. Talked to tons of AI companies. We have so many cool people that are going to be coming on the show in the coming months. You'll be really excited. Like enough that we're trying to figure out where to wedge great people. So
Fair. Yeah. It's a good problem to have. So for
it
everyone
is.
tuning in, let's just give a quick, I guess, introduction of what we're going to be doing. So we have Alexander Embiricos coming on the show. He'll be joining us in just a moment. We're going to be talking about Codex, which is OpenAI's coding agent. And the idea here is that we are going to cover as much Codex as we can to try and take you or myself or anyone else from zero to I can code with agents and I'm not afraid to do it. That's the idea.
That's right.
That's the goal. We're going to see if we can do that. We have lots of fun questions. We'll take questions from the chat. Hi to everyone coming in. Someone said, "Wow, I've never been so alone." Love that. And yeah, Jimmy Rollins says, "Thanks for doing this, guys. Excited for this session." Awesome. So we're just gonna ramp a little bit, talk about AWS until Alexander's ready to jump on. Yeah. What was the coolest thing you saw AWS reinvent this week, Corey?
I'd like to say that the coolest thing I saw at AWS was at Replay last night. And it was this giant, like 60-foot, maybe even bigger robotic hand and arm. And it was very Mad Max style. So like they come in and they would take people, put them in a chair, lift them up, and give them a remote control, and they could take this robotic hand, reach down, grab an actual automobile, lift it in the air, and slam it on the ground. And it was pretty sick. But on a more serious note, though,
sure.
Lots of talk about physical AI this week, lots and lots of it, and new types of data, new types of models, new types of everything, trying to get beyond the internet and literature and things that we have, and figure out how to teach AI not just I guess you'd say, not just the knowledge of the world, but maybe about the world in a more physical way.
Yeah, that's huge. And I don't know if people know this, but because of the extreme demand of their fulfillment centers, Amazon is one of the biggest employers of robots. So not only do they employ a lot of humans, they employ lots of robots. And I'd actually be curious to know which one they employ more of now. That's a stat I'd like to look up because I think I heard they at least employ 1 million of each. So they have at least.
I don't know, but it's and they've had robots on the floors in their fulfillment centers for years. Like, and now, another interesting discussion this week was, are humanoid robots of any actual value?
I mean, it's a big debate. Like, there's a lot of.
Well, yeah, the argument was like, are legs really the best way for a robot to get around? If you're in a factory setting, absolutely not. A
lot of people think it's wheels. A lot of people think it's like crab legs, like the 6. I've heard hexapods referred to a lot as like the ideal form factor. I guess
definitely cool though.
The benefit of robots is that, or humanoids, is that they can go everywhere a human can. So I can walk through, my door into my house and, walk around, all of this stuff. So could a human. I don't know if a 6-legged robot could be walking around in there.
I like
bumping into stuff.
We got a great comment here from Jim Moran. I want that robotic arm in my truck to adjust driver's habits. That is, I literally thought that. We were talking about, man, wouldn't that be cool to have, like, to do something with us? Like, I want my trunk lid to pop and the arm to come out and just slap when needed.
That's funny. I don't know how new this law is, because somebody was referring to it as if it was like, coming up new. But there's a law in California that at least has been proposed that requires because at least at a certain point, you couldn't ticket a self-driving car the same way you could a human. I don't know if that has been addressed, but this law was aiming to address that, where it's like somebody has to, from the company has to comply with police basically say, hey, this robot car is doing something.
I'll take the fines. Somebody's got to be that guy, I guess.
Somebody's got to take the fines, right?
Speaking of, while I'm out of town, Waymo came to St. Louis, Grant.
Really? Okay.
Which shocked me because of...
listeners, Corey's from St. Louis, famously, and now Waymo's in your town. All right, you're going to be taking it
as of like this week. They said for the first little bit they'll have humans driving the cars around while us humans get used to seeing them. But I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be able to take one at home now. And I tried to take, what's the other one? Zooks,
which is from Amazon, actually.
Yeah, and they're here in Vegas, but there were only like 4 stops directly on the Strip, and it never coincided with where I was or where I was going. So
that's an interesting car because there's no steering wheel, sort of like a bus, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's neat, but it looks like we'll have the little Jaguars in St. Louis, so I'm excited and anxious to see people freak out about them in the Midwest, because they absolutely will for a hot minute.
So I'm going to go ahead and just chat a little bit about Codex for people who don't know. Looks like Alexander is ready to come on. So I'll just give a quick intro, and then we'll let him tell you about Codex, because he'll tell you much better than I will. So just real quick, as a reminder, the idea of this is that we're going to try to go from 0 to hero with Codex today. I'm going to see if Alexander can assuage my fears of Codex, help me become a legendary Codex agent. I've got my computer here, so I'm going to try and follow along with what he shows us and see. The
vibe-coded god you know you can be.
Yeah, I want to become the vibe-coding god that I know I can be, that I know I have inside me. But just as a question, how many people have used Codex before? Shout off in the chat if you've used it before. It's okay if you haven't. Or I guess you could say, what coding agents have you used before? Let's go ahead and share that while we're getting this set up. And one of the also really cool things about today is that yesterday, GPT-5.1 Codex Max, which is OpenAI's new coding model, it just became available in the API with the same pricing and rate limits as GPT-5, which is great. So we'll also have We'll also have Alexander tell us a little bit about that. All right, so it looks like we're getting some responses.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and bring Alexander in here. Hey, man, how are you? Great to meet you.
Hey, guys. Nice to meet you. Good to meet you, too.
Hey, thanks for being here today.
For sure. Fun. Yeah, I'm just catching up on the chat. Looks like we've got some people using Codex, people using other stuff. Cool.
Yeah. So this is good. So this is you're gonna show us how to become Codex masters today, Alexander. No pressure.
All right. Hopefully it goes well. Yeah.
For people who don't know, Alexander is the product lead on Codex. Alexander, can you tell us a little bit about it and what it is and what people should know about it?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Codex is OpenAI's coding agent. We launched a research preview earlier this year. It worked in the cloud on its own computer. And since then, we've just been like massively improving it. So right now, the most popular place to use Codex is in your IDE, so like in VS Code. A bunch of people pop it up. I'll show you this. Got a VS Code extension. And it's a great tool to just use to like ask questions about your code base, get them answered, and write code together. You can also use Codex in your terminal as a CLI, in the cloud, on your phone. You can use it a bunch of places. And like broadly, what we're trying to go with it is it's just a teammate that works with you everywhere you work. So, as we go over things today, I would love to show you like the basics, how to do very simple things in Codex. And then I have some screenshots because I was like trying to figure out how can I demo like the coolest stuff we do. And I was like, this is a live stream. If I like accidentally live stream some secret, right, it can be wrecked. So I just have some I can show you like, okay, here's kind of like some of the cool ways that we use Codex like as a full teammate at the company at OpenAI.
I love it.
That's awesome. I like that you said as a full teammate at OpenAI. I think that's a fascinating approach.
Yeah, that's the goal.
We were just talking about Waymo, and Waymo refers to their system as the driver, right? It's a single system. Do you look at Codex the same way?
I mean, I think we just call it Codex. It's interesting. Like I'm kind of thinking like, would we go around and call it the teammate? I don't think so. But definitely that's like, it's like less about personifying it in that way. Like the goal is still to like just accelerate every human developer. But it's kind of more like we think about like what can Codex do today and what should it be able to do for it to be way more useful. So like, again, we'll show you like today, you can ask it to write code. That's mostly what people use it for. But if you think of like what an engineer does, like, you know, the common stat is like engineers are writing code maybe like 30% of the day.
Right.
And there's a ton of work done before, like ideating and planning. And I think that's getting even more important nowadays, now that it's like possible to build so many more things quickly. And then there's a ton of work afterwards, you know, verifying that your code is secure, reviewing it, getting it deployed, monitoring it. And sort of, you know, I think it's quite funny. Most of the coding agents today, even Codex to a large extent, are very good at writing code. But it's kind of like they're this intern that's really good at writing code and refuses to check Slack or like refuses to check right? And it's like, well, how much would you trust that person without you also being in the loop and verifying? And the answer is, well, you definitely need to be there. But what we're trying to get towards is a world where more like a teammate, it's connected to your tools and it's like doing much more of that work, including the validation step afterwards.
That's awesome.
And
really excited about that.
So that's one side. And then the other side is where you don't have to tell it every single thing to do, right? Again, like, you know, imagine an intern first day, and then eventually they get smarter and smarter and grow into an amazing senior engineer. A large part of the difference is actually that you just stopped having to give like very specific instructions, right? And they start telling you what they think they should do.
Cool.
That makes a lot of sense.
Where do you think Codex is in that process right now? Like on the scale of like super spectrums.
Oh, I mean, we're super early. We're super early. But you know, it feels like we're like at the time where there's a ton of this potential now. So, you know, if you think about it, we've been like, you know, the research team has been cooking. We've been shipping new models. We shipped a new one to the API yesterday. The new model is way smarter at coding, way more token efficient at coding. We can share more details, but it's actually, I mean, I don't know when I should screen share, but I can show you a cool chart there.
Let's go. Let's jump into it.
Let's dive in.
Okay, so this is a first for me. I'm going to share my entire screen. wait, hold on. Let me muted notifications.
I know the anxiety that comes with that.
Make sure you mute notifications. You don't want to.
I think we're going to be okay.
Don't want to leak any secrets.
This is going to be okay.
I mean, I would like it if you leak secrets. You would not like it if you leaked secrets.
You guys know how we launched like a new browser?
Yeah, Atlas.
Yeah.
I accidentally screen shared it to a bunch of journalists.
That's hilarious. You were using it as your browser, and then
it's just my browser. I mean, it's great.
The chat's offering to sign an NDA for you.
Okay.
You could take this video down and make it exclusive.
I'm using Chrome here because the new browser has a bunch of features in it, and I couldn't figure out how to feature gate them off. Here we are.
Cool.
But basically what I was getting to is like, if we think of the models we've been training, like they're getting really good at coding, really intelligent. I think it's the best one out there. But the focus still for now is like very much like working with the model in, you know, a repository of code, basically. So we're starting to see all these use cases of people using them for other things. But that's not yet our focus to push there. We're still very focused on the coding use case, but we're right about at the time where it's like interesting to try more. So
could you explain Lancer and Terminal Bench for people who don't know what that is?
Yeah, I mean, basically these are tasks that relate to like writing code. And so what we do is it's kind of like an exam, if you will. Let me know if this is like too basic of a way to explain it. But basically,
let's do basic.
So like we have these things that we call evals, like evaluations. And the idea is that it's kind of like an exam. And when we train a model, we give it this exam, which is like, hey, like, do you know how to do this like very basic task? Like, can you navigate to a folder in a terminal? Okay, what about a harder task? Like, can you fix this bug? Okay, like, what about an even harder task? Like, can you set up my computer in the right way? Or can you even like perform this task? And so a lot of these evals are, you know, inspired by real life because we're trying to measure like real life value. And so Freelancer is thinking about like freelance tasks that, you know, have been available online for humans to go attempt, and like how many of these can like a model achieve. Terminal Bench is like the idea of like, you know, if you're, do I have my terminal up? Yeah. So like if you're using, you know, terminal, can I, like a very basic task would be, I don't know, I don't actually know if this is a Terminal Bench task, but this is my standard use case. It's like, can I use FFmpeg to convert like some PNG into like some other format, right? These are these tasks, and what we do is like when we have a new model, we give it the exam, we see what score it gets, and then we compare it to the previous model. And so like these are some cool things to notice. Like, oh, cool, like this new model, like Codex Max, is like significantly better than Codex.
That's wild. Yeah, that's a big jump actually, because when you get into this range, it's quite
That's
and
where
so
the jumps start getting smaller.
So I feel like the reputation that sort of the feedback that we get for the Codex models is that they're really smart. And so if you're wondering like why should I try Codex, I think the simple answer is just you should try it so that you can like benefit from the smarter model that can do harder tasks, especially in like, I mean, I'm going to show you a bunch of like vibe coding demos at the beginning of today, just because they're easier and more fun. But like, the real work that we do is in like more complicated code bases with harder tasks. And so that's where Codex really shines. The other cool thing though, that I mean, for me is even more exciting is this graph. This is the one I wanted to show you. So we have to like explain a little bit with this graph, how to read it. But basically the takeaway is the model is smarter, but also faster. So, okay. Wow. What does this mean? If you see here, this x-axis, this is like how much time the model spent thinking. So for example, if I ask Codex like to do some task, like, I don't know, let's just do this here. I might say, okay, how many, this is a really simple question, right? Folders are in here. We're going to see that Codex is going to like think a little bit about what my question is and then what it should do. And then it's going to run a command and it's going to like think about the answer and then it's going to give me an answer. Right. So this, like, it had to think for a little bit, even though this is a simple question, because I didn't tell it like run this command. I asked it this like natural language question. Right. So it thought for a very short amount of time. And so the more stuff is here, the more thinking, the further along this axis we go in terms of thinking tokens. And then if you take this exam, this eval, so we've been verified, there's like, okay, well, how good is it? What score does it get? And basically, my analogy would be like, if I give you an exam, it's quite a hard exam, and I say you have 30 minutes total to finish the exam versus like 15 minutes versus you have 2 hours, we can kind of tell the model like, hey, like think kind of medium hard about it, think very hard, think extra hard, or don't think that much. And so what's really cool here is that not only is the model like able, if it has a lot of time, to like way outclass the prior models in terms of how well it can do in this exam, but also it can achieve similar scores with many fewer thinking tokens, which means just faster for you as a user, and also it means it's cheaper for you. Like you can use more.
Yeah, the truth is that's still a good score at low reasoning.
Yeah. So actually, I use Codex at low reasoning like most of the time.
When would you use the high and X high in your opinion?
If there's specifically a task that I think is hard, or if there's like a specific thing where I know like I'm going to step away from my computer, there's like kind of funny, like the rise of coding agents has led to like terrible hygiene in offices because people just have you walk around and there's all these computers running with just like Codex going.
That's hilarious.
But so if I know explicitly that I'm not going to look for a while and I just want it to go off and come up with its best answer, like I have a thing running that maybe or maybe not, I'll show you that, okay, it finished. But, 20-minute question here. We'll see if we get into that. But that's the kind of thing where I'm like, fine, like take forever. I don't care. But most of the time when you're just kind of in flow, like with what I just did, you want the model to be fast.
Yeah, definitely. This is awesome. This is cool. So I guess I was a little confused. I didn't know that GPT 5.1 Max was new, and it's really good.
Yeah. So we shipped it to Codex, like the CLI, so our Codex products, a couple weeks ago.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Right? Yeah.
And then usually, like, what's quite interesting about what we're doing as a team is we're training models, and we're building the open source harness. Here, I want to show you another page. Do I risk launching a new tab from here?
Risk it for the biscuit.
let's do it via the terminal.
Let's live a little. YOLO.
I feel like this will avoid you guys seeing my tab completion. Is that gonna work? Oh shit! What is it? I don't even know if this is gonna work. I've never tried to do this like specifically. Okay, that worked.
Oh, great. Awesome.
That way I avoided typing into my address bar. So this repository here on GitHub is open source, so like any of you can go read it. And it actually contains all the tools and prompts that the model gets. So do you think it's useful? Is it useful for me to explain like what a harness is?
Yeah. So we'll just do some broad. So this is GitHub. GitHub is where all the code for most of your projects live. So for people who are completely new to coding, like you're going to want to get GitHub. You're going to want to use GitHub. Continue from there.
There's definitely great tutorial videos out there.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let me like do a task here, and then while the task is running, we can kind of talk about how this is actually happening under the hood. But you guys tell me what's useful. I don't know.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. Good task. Maybe actually.
While you're doing this, I'll also explain what he was just showing is VS Code. So if you've never used what's called an IDE, this is an IDE, and this is what it looks like right here.
Yeah. So like, maybe we can even show more stuff here just to.
And this is the terminal for people who are complete computer noobs. This is the terminal. So this is where you're talking directly to your computer. I feel like it's important to say this type of stuff because when I was learning this, I was really confused as the difference between all of these things.
Yeah. So like here, like, if I'm on my computer, there's just like a bunch of folders, right? And these folders contain code and like various documents. And so there's a thing called an IDE, which is an integrated developer environment, but really it's just a fancy thing that you can use to like go read the code or stuff. So I happen to have this folder open. It's called 3JS. It's a game 3JS library for making stuff. And let's say I just open this folder and I have no idea what this is or how to use it. That's a place where Codex can already be helpful. So I can go here in GitHub and I could say, how do I play this game? Like, let's just say you told me it was a game.
Okay.
And so for those of you who are used to using ChatGPT, you're used to doing this kind of thing, where you can just ask a question and then get an answer. So, okay, I got an answer. It like happens to like be able to read the stuff that's in here, which is the same as the stuff that's in here, just a different view. Cool. Awesome. So I get an answer and I can go into the terminal here and like run the command that it asked me to run. Cool. So I can play the game, and just for fun, like we can talk about the game briefly.
What's happening here?
Yeah, I just have a little commander game. I can move it around with WASD. I can recruit troops. I have sound actually. I don't know.
Great.
Yeah, let's play it.
Ooh, it's gonna echo. I don't think we have sound set up. Whatever. There's like some fun sound effects. And looks like there's a button to plant windmills, but it doesn't work. And I've heard that something's wrong with the jumping animation. Okay. Whoa. All right. Right.
This looks like something I made.
Yeah. So that's something that I, made part of. So there's a bunch of code in here, and sort of in the olden days, we would just go in and we would read the code and like understand all the details. But this is a vibe coding.
Find the problem manually, I assume.
Yeah. So let's fix some of the things that we wanted. And I actually so I don't have to type. I can just type them out. So what did we say? The jump animation is way too high, right?
And the windmill button doesn't work, but I don't know if you want to do those at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. So we can do that. So let's say that. Let me open a new chat. I'm going to get to do a different thing at the same time. What was it? The windmill. Okay. Yeah.
The windmill button, plant windmill button doesn't work.
Okay. And then this is just for fun. Make the commander more like it had a halo and a cape, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, cowboy with a hat.
Oh, I love it.
So, and this is a demo I like to give. I can also ask it to add music, but let me not do that because you can't hear anything. So okay, so we can watch Codex kind of working now.
Oh, cool.
And so now this is a good time to just like think about what it means to have a coding agent. So looks like, okay, so it figured this out, right? So basically, if we look at what happened under the hood, like, so the UI is kind of compressing this because I don't really care about all these steps that the agent took. But under the hood, what happened is a model, GPT-5.1 Max Codex Max, basically received this query, and then it was told, hey, you're actually running as an agent in this folder, which is a repository with a bunch of files. Go figure out how to solve this user request. So what it did is first it like was like, what files are in here? So it ran ls, which is a command that like shows you, the folders. From there, it, it's like, okay, let me go search for the jump function. So it's like running various commands. It's like, oh, like RG is a command to search for things. So it searched for the word jump. And then like, okay, it found the jump. It found the command that does it. It read the file that contains the jump command. And then it saw the like, oh, like there's this variable called jump impulse, which seems very high. Let me set it to a new value. And so then it made that code change. So, normally I don't have to know any of that. I just know that like it worked. And then it tells me that it lowered the value. But behind the scenes, what it was able to do was to like use my computer actually, right? And so this is what we call the harness. So when I was showing you all this code, let's test the jump, by the way. Oh, wait, I need to refresh.
You might, you need to refresh it.
Yeah,
there you go.
Okay, we did it. Also, this cowboy hat, that's good.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like a fedora, actually. Okay. A little bit fedora coded there.
See if the windmill planting works. Sick.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay, cool. It deleted the cape. That's just, me preferring no capes. All right, there we go. No capes. So, under the hood, basically what we have a bunch of code. Where was it? Here, in this repository that everyone can go read. And so when I send this query, the model sees this and then it decides, okay, like what can I do? And so there's some prompts in here and some tools that it can use. And the prompts say like, hey, you're able to execute commands in the user's terminal. You can run these commands in this way. And to make sure that it's safe, we have this thing called a sandbox, which limits what you can do to only things that the user would want you to do, unless you can ask for permission to do more stuff. Anyway, so there's a bunch of code around this, and that's what we call the harness. Sorry, a bit of a rambly answer to that.
No, that's great.
It's a good question. It's a good answer. It was that's a question I've had for a while. I hear a lot of talk about harnesses, especially around like benchmarking and stuff, and how different companies are doing it.
Right. And so one of the cool things that we're able to do on Codex actually is because we're both training the model and building the harness, we're able to do these things together. To build them to work really well together. That means we're able to like move really fast and like try experiments. And it's kind of like instead of building like a general purpose thing, we're able to build something very specific. So like when you're using the Codex models, if you want to like just try using them directly, they're a bit more like a sports car that's like very good at like being used a specific way, and a bit less good at being used. Like if you want to use them for something like outside of Codex, they're not as useful. But then you get a sports car. We get to build cool features. Like I think we actually talked about it here. So yeah, like one of the cool things you can do with Codex is you can run these like really long running tasks. Models have something called a context window, which is basically like how long they can think for before you need to kind of like reset them. Maybe it's like a human going to sleep. It can be awake for so many hours. And so if your task is, and by that's terrible analogy, but whatever. If you're doing a really hard task that takes longer than like the model's context window, you would kind of historically get stuck. And so this is something we've been working on, like both making Codex faster, which is what we were talking about with this chart, but also making it smarter at running through long tasks. So we have this feature here called compaction, that basically we train the model how to like basically prepare itself to run again in a fresh context window. And then we built a harness to like do that in a very specific way that the model is trained for. So we're able to ship that feature like super quickly.
I have a question about that. So does that mean that unless I want to run multiple agents at once, I never have to open a new window? Is that what that means?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's up to you. But yeah, you could totally just like have Codex run for ages with just a single window. There's a lot of different patterns. Like actually one of the common patterns at OpenAI, which, I think in the future you might not need this pattern as models get better and as the harness gets better. But one thing that we commonly see is people just like, so I'm just opening another terminal here. You see people like working with the model in one pane, and this context they're managing, we're kind of skipping some steps and getting more to the hero side of what you guys were talking about.
Yeah, we'll circle back.
So this basically, like if I'm working with Codex here, I might want sort of this one chat with the model where we call them threads, where I'm like very opinionated and confident about what I want it to do. So I'd be like, go do this next, like giving very specific instructions. But then maybe the truth is like, I'm just a mammal. I don't know what to do exactly. So I need to get some questions answered. So I might have a chat on the side where I'm asking questions about it. Like, is there?
We just had a good question that's kind of relevant to this and to what you were working on a second ago here. And they were wondering if you're leaving the prompts in the code specifically for the AI to read.
I think that was referring to like GitHub, right? Or what was that referring to?
Yeah, that was just a minute ago, or maybe 3 minutes ago.
The harness. It was referring to the harness.
In the harness,
There are prompts in the harness, yeah. Whoops. So for example, this is actually one of the prompts that the Codex agent uses. And again, this is all open source, so you can just go check this out.
Okay.
And so, this just explains a bunch about how we want the model to behave. And so, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. I'm trying to see. Are you leaving prompts in the code? Yeah, let me know, AC main, if this answers your question, but there are plenty of prompts in the code. We actually are often updating these. And so it's quite interesting. Like if you were to go into our open source repo, maybe we can do this. And you were to look at the prompt for, this prompt here, it's quite long, right? There's a lot of description about how Codex should behave. And this is because this is actually the prompt here for GPT-5 models, which are general, right? You can use GPT-5 for a bunch of stuff, right? Creative writing all the way to coding. And so because it's like, it doesn't necessarily know by default, like how to work in a coding harness, we give it quite a lot. On the other hand, if we go check out the prompt for GPT-5.1 Codex Max, this model is like trained very specifically to work in this harness. And so the prompt is, well, I don't know if you can tell, but the prompt is much shorter. And we don't have to tell it anywhere near as much. And like broadly speaking, almost anything that we have in this prompt, we eventually try to delete because the model should. I mean, most things. There's some places where we want durability. So that's on like the prompts in our code in the harness, and there also are some valuable ways to prompt Codex. Like let's say that every time I prompt, I want Codex to work a certain way. One thing that I can do, one thing that I can do is I can add a file here called agents.md. And this file is actually a file that a bunch of coding agents support. So like Codex is just one of them, but also like AMP and Gemini. And this was like a really cool thing that like when we created this name agents.md, we intentionally made it generic and like plural to like invite like, hey, like, everyone should use this. And it was really cool the community rally around that. So like, for example, this is a silly example, but I could say, hey, I don't know, how are you doing? This is but it's going to give me some answer, right? And let's say that actually I don't want it to write like that. I always want it to be like sound like a pirate. This is, a better example would be more like telling it about some like specific code style thing that's like hard to infer from the code base.
Right.
Like, if, let's say you use like 2 tabs versus 4 tabs, or 4 2 spaces versus 4 spaces. Like Codex will just figure that out, or like semicolons versus not. It should just do the right thing. But let's say it's something harder to figure out. Like I want you to sound like a pirate. Now, if I start a new chat, then I could say, let's see if this works. Now it will like read this prompt every single.
I'd be sailing.
Should I be zooming in?
Yeah, we can. This is good. Yeah, this is good.
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
All right. So, anyways, AC main, that's your answer to the question around prompts. So teams eventually build out like fairly like robust agents.mds as they like start configuring Codex to work specifically the way that they want.
Do you have to be chatting with the agents.md for it to reference it, or any
no?
Code base? Yeah,
I could be doing this. So like, one thing I was like considering could be fun to show you would be like we could go up here to one of the demos that we put in the GPT-5.1 Codex Max blog post.
Yeah.
So we like built the solar system well. So
that's cool.
If I gave it this prompt here, for this one I might do medium just because I think it's like writing a whole app from scratch. So this task isn't going to finish instantly, so we might have to wait. But I guess the point is here that you can see the first thing it did is it read the agent's instructions. So it knows that it should sound like a pirate, even though I wasn't like looking at that file. And so when it answers and it's done writing the solar system, it'll just sound like a pirate.
That's awesome.
But yeah, where should we go from here? I'm curious.
Let's start from, say I'm a noob. Say I'm interested in this. How do I download this program you're using? How do I download Codex? Let's like go to the Codex website and show the process. Because I was doing this today and I thought it was kind of interesting. There's so many options, so I was a little bit curious, like what option you recommend people start with.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna, you mentioned say I'm a noob, right? So let's say you're just getting started.
Yeah.
Like I saw someone in the comments was like, "Yay for Tmux," and like, they were looking at this terminal thing. Like,
yeah,
like terminals are actually not that scary, but I don't think like the noob thing is to use a terminal. So, and like Tmux and like all this stuff. So I think really the sort of more basic thing is to use an IDE. So, like I like VS Code. There's plenty of other great IDEs. I also like Cursor and plenty of others. So, what I might do
VS Code's been around forever. Tons and tons and tons of people use it.
Yeah, so I might go to, I don't want to risk a web search and like accidentally complete some secret project.
How about this? I can show my screen, which I have pulled up, and you can show me what to do.
Great. Oh, that's awesome.
Okay. Just so you know, also, if there's ever something you want to bring up and that is a concern, we can pull your screen share down from the screen for a second so you can do what you need to do. Then we can.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Well, yeah, let's set you up. If you screen share, I can kind of walk you through something. That'll be fun.
Yeah, let's do it. Because I was trying to code some stuff earlier, and we'll see where I went wrong. So Monique, can you share my screen? Great. Grant's computer. All right. No, I need to present. 1 second. So one of the other things that we want to talk about, Alexander, when we get there, is you released 2 really awesome guides recently that I want to kind of touch on some of the advice from. Yeah. One was the building an AI native engineering team, which was really interesting. And also the Codex Max prompting guide, which was really cool as well.
Yeah.
So we'll touch on that at some point.
Yeah, and we'll drop a link to that in the chat real quick here.
All right, so my screen is up. Okay, so all right, so I went to openai.com/codex, and I see there's a button here to get started, and there's all these options. What should I pick?
Okay, so it starts with how do you write code today? So like, can you show me? It looks like you have an editor open behind. Can you show that to me?
Yeah. So this is one. This is.
Okay, so that's Cursor, right?
This is Cursor. Yep.
Cool. Yep. Okay. So now let's say you go to the Codex website and use Cursor. So go ahead, get started, and click Cursor.
Okay. I'm gonna open it.
Cursor. Boom. And that's an extension. That's our extension. So you would, it would say install there. I mean, we can show the install if you want. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll uninstall it and then I'll install it again. Super fast.
Nice. Okay. Sweet. So now you have Codex. And so you're going to want to like get the extension. It's a little bit, this is kind of a tricky thing. They tend to get buried, but can you zoom in?
Yes. How about that?
Yeah. And then, go to your extensions pane and launch the thing. So have you already moved Codex somewhere specific? If not, I
have not. Yeah.
Okay. So you see where it says agents and editor, then there's like a few icons underneath. No,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, right here.
So, yeah, and I think that there's a drop down to the right of the extensions icon. So like go higher. Gosh, this is painful. Higher.
How about this? This is
you can find it. Like just go a little higher. Like you up higher.
Yeah, I'll zoom out.
There you go. Click
that. There we go.
You got it.
Click Codex. Right. So that's where client is.
There it is. Okay, got it.
The fact that that's hard to find is, I don't know if Cursor people are listening, but their extensions are very hard to find in Cursor. They're much easier to find in VS Code.
Do you want to open this? Yeah, so I'll open it and then I'll sign in.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe just to call it out for anyone who's watching. So what Grant did is he clicked the login button really fast.
So can you click that eyeball for me, Grant? Sorry.
Right here.
Nothing. I was.
Reveal my
you had your
password,
password
everyone.
up. I was like, would you click that eyeball for me? Yeah.
Yeah. Man, you really got to do a lot when you're streaming.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me
he's logging into his ChatGPT account because Codex is included in Plus and Pro plans, as well as like business and enterprise. So
Minnie, could you take my screen down for a second so I can log in? Thank you.
And you're on Pro, aren't you, Grant?
On which one? On Cursor?
Oh no, I was thinking. Never mind.
I
was thinking
on ChatGPT. Yes, on this account over here. So.
By the way, a good day to all. Okay, I see what you're saying. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but if you just go into Cursor, if you use Cursor as your IDE, that should work. If you use a different IDE, then you're going to want to click the different one. But no matter what IDE you use, if it's a VS Code fork, you can, i.e. if it's VS Code or Cursor or Windsurf, you can just go into the extensions marketplace and just search Codex and you'll get it.
Awesome.
Okay.
We had one more here while Grant's downloading. Wondering if we could maybe explain the differences between manual coding and using AI. What's the difference? What's the process going to be like in comparison?
It's a good question.
So it's actually pretty interesting. There's like fully manual, and then there's sort of this like accelerated, like using AI native IDEs coding, and then there's like coding with agents. So this is kind of the spectrum. I and I guess all of us used to just code manually. A fun fact is that I used to work on a startup, and I started that company with my co-founder, obviously. But the point is that I wrote the initial prototype for something we ended up building on an airplane with no Wi-Fi.
Wow!
Like
that's awesome.
I actually recently have like been on an airplane with no Wi-Fi and decided that it would be cool to prototype something, and like wrote 3 keystrokes, and I'm just like, why am I here? This is like, there's no point. I should just like watch a movie because it is so much slower, and maybe I'm worse at manual coding probably, but it's just too hard now. So
I have a question about that actually, but we can get into that a bit later.
Sure.
But actually, I'll ask it now. There was a conversation that I saw on Twitter recently, and basically it was like, I was talking to some engineers who said, I don't use coding tools because it gives me like the equivalent of engineer brain rot. And then they said they're missing the point. It actually gives you 10x capabilities. It 10x's your capabilities. And I actually think both are true to an extent, like both have validity to them, where if you're not doing the task, you're not going to learn the task. But at the same time, you can be 10x more productive using the tools. And I wanted to get your take on that, on how you feel about it as you're designing basically the equivalent of an agent that codes for people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of just like abstraction layers, right? I think one of the things that makes software so powerful is that over time we've had more and more layers built by people who are coding before us that make it easier for us to do things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got like HTML, and then you have JavaScript and React, right? So now you don't, very rarely are you like manually manipulating the DOM unless it's some like very special use case. So like if you develop VS Code, I don't, as far as I know, they don't use React, right? Because it's like a super high performance use case where they need something like more advanced. Similarly, like most people don't need to know assembly today. Assembly is like a low level like machine language. I don't even know if that's the right definition. I took one class of assembly in college. And then, on top of assembly, there's like languages like C, and like also like most people never need to learn C today, right? And we just keep getting to like easier and easier to use languages that are more and more powerful. And like you sometimes need to understand some things about the compiler or the runtime, right? Like you definitely want people on a team who understand the details of how the internals of what you're building work. But you don't need everyone to do that. And definitely as you're getting started, I don't think you need to do that. You can like learn that knowledge over time as you sort of realize you need it because you're trying to solve some bug. And so I think
that's totally right. That's kind of what Karpathy was saying, is that, it's actually better to take a project, work on it, and then, figure out what you need as you go.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so hard to
that's
just, like,
kind of how, sorry.
Yeah. No, you go for it.
Oh, that's kind of how I learn, is like if I'm working on something and trying something and I don't necessarily understand what I'm looking at, like quite often you can kind of understand by just looking through it as you go, even as you're new and you learn more. But regularly, if I don't know what something is, I'll have a ChatGPT window over on the side, and I will just grab a snippet, throw it over, and be like, "What is this? What is this doing?" And have it like kind of break a section down into something that makes sense to me.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that's like one of the most powerful things about this age with AI now. It's that almost like any given thing that was impossibly hard before is still hard now, but or maybe even not that hard now, because you can just like try with AI, and like AI will help you understand it. And so, we used to be in a world where like, you had to be very strategic about like what you learned, and then you could then do things related to what you learned, and you could like slowly expand your frontier of knowledge and capabilities as like a human, but it was like harder. Right. And now, like, yeah, you still want to learn as much as possible, but you can aggressively expand your domain of knowledge, and you can like lead, like you can almost do more than you know now, and then like catch up with your knowledge using AI.
Yes.
Right. And like whether or not it's worth your time to like deeply understand like the underlying system or deeply understand code that is written is something you can be very strategic about. So if you're building like most production systems that like real like, tools used by many people, like you do want to understand like all the things. But if there's certain places where the code is like extremely well tested and like modular and compartmentalized, maybe you don't need to anymore, and you can just trust the boundaries and your tests. Similarly, like if you just are trying to learn something and you're not about to deploy this to like millions of users, you could just prototype and you can vibe code that prototype. It doesn't matter, right? So we get to like, we have this new lever of like where we spend our time that I think is like really empowering.
Totally. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, it's an effective way to learn.
Yeah. And like you showed earlier, you can actually have a chat inside the terminal or, your code editor and asking questions there. You don't even have to pull up ChatGPT if you don't need.
What are 32 to 47? I don't understand that or something.
So like, well, yeah. And you could just highlight it. Actually, that's the thing we can show in the IDE. You could just like highlight some code and be like, what does this code do? And then can we put up Consulting 5's question about like, if I need to start writing Python? Because I think it's an interesting one.
Absolutely.
So, my take here is that you should just follow your energy, right? So like some people like reading docs and tutorials. I do like reading docs and tutorials, like a decent amount. I'm not going to spend days on it. So I would just try, just like Google, like, or use ChatGPT, actually like search, like learn Python. But I don't even think about that anymore because I just use Atlas. So it like automatically ChatGPT. But you basically go search it. And then if there's a tutorial, try reading it. And if you get bored in 30 seconds, stop reading it. But if you don't get bored, then just keep going until you get bored, right? So you might as well learn. But similarly, try building some project you have and see where you get stuck, and just like use AI to like build that project. And like if you try a few of these things, like some things will just be easier for you based on your personality than other things, and you can just go down, pull that thread. You don't have, there's no specific way, I think.
I like that. I like that a lot. It also solves the cold start problem where you're sort of like, I don't, I'm like putting this off because it's going to take a lot of cognitive load. We just say like, read it for 30 seconds. And if you can read it for 30 seconds, you can probably read it for 2 minutes if it's interesting. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have my screen up. Monique, if we can pull it back up. I've downloaded, I'm all logged in here. So
sweet.
Giving me a little intro that I'm going to click through. That's explaining how it works. So I'm going to click through that and then try the new model. Let's test it out.
So you're in. So is this, so you could just say hi or whatever you want here. And then maybe we can zoom in also.
Yeah, let's zoom in. I'm going to close this. One sec.
Which thing do you want to close?
Oh, I wanted to close this. Yeah, close all. There's just a lot of stuff open here. Okay.
Cool. Okay. So like, I don't know what this folder, or I guess it's Claude test, but like, do you have a thing you want to do here?
I actually had something I wanted to do on the web version. So I can show you that, but I just wanted to show people like, so you're saying get cursor, download cursor, download the Claude code extension into cursor, and then you can start a project here. Codex, excuse me.
Codex.
Get the Codex one, put it in cursor, and then how would I actually start a project here?
Okay, so first off, I would definitely do the the extension in an IDE if I was someone who is new to coding. I wouldn't do the web version. That's like a little bit more advanced. So if we wanted to start a new project, then I would just do it the way that my editor does it. So like we would make a new folder somewhere on your computer. We could try this actually if you want.
Yeah,
let's
do it.
Project.
Yeah,
so it's like
folder.
So, yeah, you need to make a folder. So that just do that the normal way you make folders on your computer. Yeah. You call it Codex test.
This is actually really high pressure that I'm doing this.
Yeah, it'll be good. Don't worry.
You got it, man. You got this.
Yeah, I believe.
It's in some other folder of some other thing, but we're gonna roll.
That's fine. It doesn't matter. Just a folder.
We're gonna rock with
there.
It
We
there.
go.
Folders can live wherever. They're just folders.
Yeah. Okay. Git repository. No.
That's your editor talking. So just do whatever you want.
Okay.
Cool.
So now I'm here. How do I start my project?
Okay, so let's pull up Codex again. So that's you click the arrow because it's buried.
The famously difficult to find one.
Yeah. Right? So like, yeah, obviously because I'm wearing Codex, I would recommend VS Code because it's easier to find Codex. But
oh, I have that open as well. Where is it? I have a lot of things.
You have all of the things open, don't you?
I did.
Oh no, they're not all open.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're chill here. I mean, cursor's fine once we have it open. So yeah, so like, what do we want this project to be? Do we want to like? I like to make joke sites about dinosaurs that write code, but what do you want to do?
Make a joke site about cats that write code. How about that?
Sure.
There we go. Okay. There we go.
So that's a way to get started with the project. I think for me, if I was sort of knew what I was doing, so this depends how newbie I am, but like if I know what I want to do, I might know what programming language I want it to be in, or I might know what frameworks I want to use. Like maybe I want to use React or something. So I would probably tell it how I want to start. But this is a way to just simply start a new project with Codex, and like we'll have it work and we can open it in a couple minutes. I will say that like if you are an experienced programmer, this is actually not the best way to start using Codex.
How would you start it as an experienced coder?
I would go find think about like some hard problem that I have to solve like today in like my real like normal full-time project or hobby project or whatever. And I would ask Codex to fix the real problem because that's where it really shines. Like there's a lot of models, like all the models out there can like vibe code a site about cats that write code. And I'll even say like, I don't even know that like our site will be like the best like vibe coded site about cats who writes code. Like maybe not, right? But if you go to like a real production code base and you have like a real problem and you ask for help there, like that's where Codex will shine the most.
Yeah, excellent. we have another good question in the chat. Someone said, can you recommend any just enough, just in time dev incremental bloggers, etc., diving into Python and actually enjoying it? An LLM real-time write partner code for me, and debugging equals chef's kiss. What's your take on that?
Where I used to read those kinds of blogs was mostly when I was doing Swift and I was like just getting into Swift when it got started.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's super applicable to folks here, especially for doing Python, but I remember liking the names are kind of hard to come by, but like I feel like there was like Swift Lee, there was like Bobby Lee. I don't know. I don't have too many that I can remember off the cuff. This is a bit of a previous life. But what about you guys? What do you recommend?
Well, I really like, some of them trend to be a bit technical, but Simon Willison's really good at working with LLM specifically. He's really focused on that in particular. And I also like all the content that Swix puts out. And then just reading Hacker News and seeing what the most interesting stuff is. That's usually what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the forums are really great for if we're talking about AI versus like the language fundamentals. Forums like Hacker News and Reddit, I find really good. I find like being on, Twitter X there's a bit more hype. It's like more one thing or the other. Whereas these platforms where there's like upvoting of comments, I find like quite useful to like just see what other people are doing.
It's good like signal to just kind of see, okay, what are other people doing, and then you can kind of adjust. Okay,
so now it's saying
something here.
Yeah, so it said, we can read what it did.
Built a playful cat coder landing page with animated hero achievements, grid, live claw, soul logs, and a tongue-in-cheek bug list. And it created 3 files, index.html, which is the layout, Then we've got the style.css, which is the style, and then script.js, which renders the scripts, like the functionality of it.
Great. So it's telling you can open it. So you could, if you know how to open the file, you could just do so. But if you don't, you could just say run open index.html for me.
Run open index.html?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah. I mean, you could say whatever. And so this is actually an opportunity to illustrate the sandbox. So don't click that just yet.
Okay.
Launching your browser is sort of an action that's like very powerful. And so we've decided as when we build Codex, we don't want the agent to be able to just launch your browser to whatever site it wants, without you first confirming. So in this case, it's asking you, can I run this command? And you can say approve once or whatever you want here. And then it'll open. So yeah, if you want to click.
Okay. And here we go.
Lol.
We refactor yarn into shipping features.
That's pretty good.
Deploy cat. I wonder what that does. Probably nothing yet.
Yeah, maybe
Why
nothing
cats
yet.
Make elite developers.
So yeah, if you want now, so now you have your first thing, right? So is there something you want to change about this?
It's pretty good. It's maybe a little overwhelming.
Animation, I don't know. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. No. We definitely need some more cats in it.
It needs more cats. I have a question while that's running there, Alexander. Is there a value to over here in your chat before you even start having a conversation about what you want to do and getting kind of a spec sheet you could go drop in when you start?
Yeah. If we're doing this the right way, not just vibing, that's
so let me. I mean, I don't know if we can wait for that to finish or not, but I can.
We'll leave it up. Yeah, let's switch back to you and let's see how you do it. So everyone saw the amateur version, the 0 version. Now let's see the hero version.
Cool. All right. Give me 1 second to open stuff.
Okay. Was there? Who was there? There was one more question we missed that was interesting, I think. Oh, I can't find it.
Nathan Weber, who asked the question about bloggers, suggested I ought to try and start one. Fail forward with me. That's a great way to learn. I've actually thought about that. And that's what I'm trying to do on this. I know a little bit more about this type of stuff than I'm letting on, but basically you should totally write a blog where you are failing in real time and sharing your learnings with people, because that is how you, by teaching others, it creates a pathway in your brain that basically allows you to learn it by repeating it. So it's you can't really, one of the famous lines is if you can't teach it, you don't really know it. So you sharing it with others kind of reinforces the pathway in your brain that teaches you, to learn from your failings. It's a great idea. You should totally do it.
Cool.
I agree.
So, can you put my screen up?
There we go. All right.
So let's say, so what I'm going to do is I'll show you 3 things. First, I'm going to show you just some slightly more realistic change that I might ask for, what that might look like. Then I'll show you how we would do sort of a longer, harder task. But I mean, we're not going to have time to watch it run because it'll take longer, but we can talk about how to do that. And then lastly, I'll show you some fun, just screenshots of us using Codex that I just this morning, I just from shipping the linear integration that we shipped yet.
Yeah, so, that's awesome.
So let's say that, I'm working on the Codex CLI app, and we have this command called /status. And looking at this, it says that you should go here to see more about your up-to-date rate limits. And I kind of wish that this string was down here so that we could just tell people the status earlier. I don't want a user to have to read this text every time, right?
Yeah, so, for sure.
I'm going to show this, editing this in the VS Code extension, just because that's where we've been working. So I'm going to copy that, and I'll go into VS Code where I have opened the Codex code. So I have dragged, you can actually, this is a fun fact. So you have Codex down here. This is where it is in VS Code. It's much easier to find.
Yeah, it's so much better.
But anyway, so I've dragged it here just 'cause I happen to like it on the right side. So I'm going to ask it to make a change. I'm going to say, when I run /status, the command, the string, and I'll just quote it, roughly. Yeah, let's clean this up slightly. Shows up at the top of the output. Let's move it to the bottom so users, don't have to read that immediately.
Nice.
It's extra info, and this is personal. Not everyone I know writes this way.
Yeah,
but I like to give the model like a lot of information about what I'm thinking, and I often will say things like, "I don't really know where it should be. Just like figure it out." So like here, I could have it and then like put in a new version where I had moved the string to where I want. But the way that I use LLMs, I don't even think about what I want. I just kind of, or like what it exactly should be. I kind of think about what roughly I want. Right. Another weird habit I have while we're on it is like when I'm talking to ChatGPT, I'll like often thank it or let it know what I did. So it'll give me the helpful answer.
I do too.
Close the chat there, but like it might give me 3 options and I use one of them. I actually tell it which one I used because ChatGPT has memory. So like I was on holiday with a break, and I asked it like, where should I have dinner? And it was like, well, since you're staying at this hotel, you can go here. And since you like this kind of food, so that we don't have like automatic memory like that in Codex yet, but I'm like very excited for like those kinds of things.
Is that that's awesome. You're working on perhaps?
We have memory. People are trying things. Cool. So we can see Codex here is like working on this task, and so this is going to take forever. I've been messing around with my Git state, but so basically what I want to show here is that Codex went and figured out what to do, and then it made the change. So it removed this code that rendered that string from the top and then put it below. So that's great. Now what it's doing is it's running cargo test, which is a way to confirm. Basically, it's running tests to validate its change. Like now, it so happens that because I've been on like various different versions and been messing around, I think it's going to have to run a long compilation. So we might not see this finish, or I don't really want to wait. But
it's making sure it works before it's telling you it's done, right?
Exactly. And so like, this is getting a little bit more real than our Vibe Code demos, where like Codex is actually going to go and do the work about its changes. It's going to take a little longer depending on your setup. But
this would be where, people are at the office, they're taking a break, they're, walking around, their computer's running, and then you come back and check it later.
Yeah. So like what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to, let's just stop that. That's fine. Let's assume the test ran and then just run Codex again. Oh, that's not what I want. This is just where am I? Okay, I've made messing around too much with what's going on. Let me not. I need to live.
This live is live. Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we'll see if this works.
So for context, this is you're still editing the solar system.
No, this is the Codex. Remember, I showed you like the status text in the Codex app. This is like a real change that I actually want to merge.
You're actually editing Codex right now.
Yeah, exactly. So like the status command showed in the wrong place, and so I want to move it to somewhere else.
That's awesome.
Okay. The reason it's taking forever is just in case we wanted to demo a long task. I had Codex do a 20-minute task before this, and so there's a lot of code changes. And this is very YOLO of me because hopefully that worked. We're taking 20 minutes of risk here. So
it's great.
Yeah, this should work. I'm gonna wait like 10 more seconds, and then if not, I'm just gonna show something else.
Okay, we can also ask you some questions too if we need.
Yeah. Yay, the text is down here, right? So
there you go.
Earlier, the text showed up here, right?
Yeah.
And this is just like something I want to merge. Like I find it annoying that the text is this high. It's like sort of polluting the UI for users. I think it would be much nicer if the text is down here.
Yep.
Right. So I can send you guys the PR later today if I have time.
That makes sense.
But yeah, so it made the change. Now it also so happened to have made changes to a bunch of other files because I had it write an entire Python SDK. Which we don't have yet. And I forgot that I had done that, so it took a long time. So let me show you how I got it to write the Python SDK.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So not this. So I'm just finding, I have some links for myself. Oh yeah, okay. Which I think I already have this open. So we actually put out a guide for this in October, which is the idea of using a plans.md file. And so
similar to agents.md, but for planning specifically.
Exactly. So basically, the idea here is that if you want someone to, like, the same analogy works for like a human teammate. If you want someone to go off and do a lot of work, you might want to agree on what work they're going to do. AC man, I didn't write any of that code.
So pull that, if you could, Vinny, or Corey, pull that quote up just so people know the question.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So how much of the actual code did you write? None.
None. I mean, but this, there's certain tasks, right? That this string change that or moving a label around is not a hard task, right? So I'm like confident that, I don't have to write that code. There's many tasks where you're going to have to write a lot. I'm on the product team, so I try not to like write code for complicated systems that I'm going to have to maintain. So if I am going to like actually use Codex to like land like something in place, I usually try to make sure it's like something well tested, and then I'll probably write like the definition of the tests myself, or like go back and forth with Codex on that, and then the actual implementation of like some clean thing, maybe that part I won't write.
Yeah,
right. That makes sense.
But okay, so going back to plans, basically the idea is that if you can collaborate with a human teammate or an agent on what should be done, then you can go back and forth together. And at the end of that back and forth, you can like say, yes, this is what I want, right? So one way that you can do this, if you just want to try this, is you could go into, let's just do something simple for now. Let's say we have this solar system thing that we've built, right? Let's like look at it. Solar index. Okay, cool. So I don't know, we have the solar system thing. Let's make the time scale faster. Okay, that's still very slow. But let's say we wanted to sort of upgrade this thing. I could just give a prompt, but if I want to have it work on like a harder, longer task, what I might do instead is I might say, let's work on the solar prep together. First, write a plan in plan.md explaining how you think we should, I don't know what we want to upgrade. We should add moons, right? So this would be like a very sort of like, if you're just getting started, you could just do this. You don't have to do anything more complicated. All you're doing is asking like, write a plan in a plan.md. And so this is a thing that a lot of people do. And this one guy at OpenAI, Aaron, he is like a pro at this. And so he no longer just says, write a plan. He actually has a lot of things that he wants to see in his plan. It's like a plan template. And so I'm not going to go over all of his template, but he has a lot in here. He's like, make it self-negotiable, contained. I want a certain kind of formatting. I want milestones in the plan. I want design decisions, and he sort of gives an example. I want to-dos in the plan. So you can do whatever you want here. Like you could so I'll show you how to just copy his if you just want to use his. But my recommendation is just start easy. You don't need any of that, right?
Maybe what someone could do is they could start with the plan.md like template, and then they could open another window and make their own plan and test both of them.
Yeah. His is like really robust. It's the most robust one that I've seen. So, you could start there or not. But anyway, so if I like this plan, I mean, maybe we want to change something, right? Let me see. Maybe I don't want any controls here. Actually for the moon, it's like, so I'm changing something, right? Do not add controls for the moon. Moons, just populate them by default, right? So, okay, so I've adjusted, I've gone back and forth with the plan. I might even ask it like, hey, update the plan yourself here. But anyways, okay, great. I made some tweaks. Do the plan. So this is a very common workflow we see, where you kind of have a generate a plan, ask for some tweaks and do it. And like, again, we're doing this like very quickly here, but we use this a ton. Like the Sora Android app. I don't know if you guys have heard this story. Just pulling up the number. Yeah. So we built the entire Sora Android app in 18 days.
Wow.
No joke.
And it was 4 engineers, 18 days, to get like a functioning app that we were testing, and then 28 days to just like fully ship the app. And so
wow,
the way that they did that was we had an iOS app already. And so they would run Codex where it could see the iOS app and the Android code base. And they were basically figuring out, okay, here's a chunk of something I want to do. Let me ask Codex for a plan. Okay, go back and forth on the plan. And then they would send it off and it would go implement the plan. So they would do what we're doing here, but just like a little more advanced, probably something in between this like very basic thing that we did and the full plan.md version of it. But you know, when you decide that that's how you want to work, so you could do this quick workflow, and if you like it, you can add an agents.md file, and you might say something like, so here's the thing that folks can do. We can, let's say we like this version. We could just copy this in. I'm just pasting in the guide, which you guys can share with your viewers. And then awesome. What I might do here is I could then say something like this in my agents.md. I'm saying, hey, when you're writing complex features or a significant refactor, use this approach to do the implementation, right? And so now whenever I'm working on something, I could be like, hey, create a plan and show me so I can go back and forth. Or I can say, just go ahead and use it, but I want you to use this sort of structured way of thinking about it because that's how I want you to work.
Yeah.
And this 17-minute task that ran before I got in was one of those. So my prompt at the beginning, just to give you an idea. Wow, it's okay. I don't even know if I can go all the way up.
What was this task that you were trying to do?
Basically, what I said. This is my prompt actually. Can you read it? Is it too small?
Yeah, using exec-plan-md, write a new Python SDK on the JS SDK for Codex. Yeah, so the Python that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and so this is a bit like sort of abstract. I was in a rush trying to figure out if I was going to show you a long task. So I just did this. If I was doing this in real life, I would first just say, using exec-plan.md, propose a plan for how we're going to do this, and then we would stop and we would look at it, and then I would say, okay, now write a new Python.
Yeah, and I would tell people to remember to be patient. Some of these tasks do take a little bit, but the fact of the matter is, just sit back, let the magic happen. Go drink a coffee and watch it work.
Yeah.
And learn by watching it even.
Yeah. So last thing I want to show you guys, we can see if this finishes the solar system change, but I just thought it'd be fun to show you some cool screenshots of like, if you guys get, going with Codex,
let's do it.
What you might end up with a team. So when you're really going with Codex, you can start connecting it to your various tools. And so, for instance, last night at I don't know if it's going to show, it doesn't show the timestamps. Good. At a slightly toxic time, we were like looking at this integration and we wanted to make some changes. And so, I filed a linear ticket saying like, hey, we need to update the prompt. I know this is a bit small. I don't know if it's going to work. We need to update the prompt for this thing, for this, this feature so that it's better at answering questions. And so what I did is I went to linear, filed a ticket. Notice I actually wrote out a bit more of a ticket than I would have in the past because I actually want the agent to understand what I want. So I wrote out the ticket and then I assigned it to Codex. And then Codex got to work on it and then created a PR. And then I merged the PR. I tweaked it actually slightly, but
for folks who don't know, pull request is where it then merged the code back into the GitHub folder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So and linear is a tool for tracking tasks, right? So if you have like a tool to use for tracking tasks, you can think about, okay, I just want every task to be first looked at by an agent before I look at it. So this is super powerful. We just launched this integration yesterday.
That's
another cool thing is like, this is an example workflow of an engineer on the team. And it was just cool to see how he works now. So we were in Slack. So I've kind of taken these screenshots out of context just to not show too much here, but we're in Slack and he was trying to debug some problem in the macOS app. So he asked the question and someone shared a helpful idea. So he said, perfect, let me give it a try. Notice me. And he said, actually, can you try?
That's amazing.
Which is amazing, by the way. This is the future, right?
I got a guy for that. Yeah,
I'm on it.
Pretty much.
And then 8 minutes later, Codex had an answer, and it like ran these tests, like I was showing you. And then Shin's like, "At person with the idea, here's the PR," right? And then later, that person was like, I don't know. Like, I think actually we need to sort of do this in this like other way. And then Shin was like, "At Codex, can you change it to do that other way?" And this now is GitHub.
It's sort of like the equivalent of "let me Google that for you." Do you remember that website?
Yeah.
Where like the guy's like, "Okay, I'll have Codex do it for you."
Yeah, exactly. So that's
it's a
little
mindset change, I'll bet too. Getting to that point where you just remember, let's just have this do that. Let's just have this do that.
Yeah. And then one last screenshot that I took was literally this morning, but it's kind of like when you really get into this idea of like, I'm just going to maximally accelerate myself, working with agents, you kind of start doing weird things. So like I was saying, like, I use Atlas, ChatGPT Atlas is my browser. So everything I just type in there is just like, gets AI help. The right thing just happens, if I want to search or if I want an answer. And so I kind of have started treating even like my terminal this way. So this is actually me this morning. I just typed into my terminal, like, are there work trees for this repo? Which that's not a valid terminal command, right? And then I was like, what do you mean? So I was like, I mean, Codex, are there work trees for this repo? It's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, okay, I have to promote it and everything. And then it answered my question, right? But this you can see here, this is a kind of task where I'm not actually writing code anymore. I'm just doing stuff on my computer. And like, if I needed to, I could remember that the command is git work tree list, right? Going back to our earlier topic, but there's just like no reason for me to know that command.
Well, and this is where I think, like, for me personally, right? So I started my like software engineering experimentation journey back in 2022, and it was right before ChatGPT came out, because I was like suddenly in charge of building spreadsheet templates at work. So I had to learn all these like crazy Excel commands. So it was sort of like perfect timing that I was like, as I was learning all of these commands, which was my first foray into really seriously programming, if you could call that programming, the engineering mindset, let's say. Like then all of a sudden ChatGPT came out, and now I could like I was torn whether I memorize the commands or whether I just like work with ChatGPT, and it's gotten consistently better and better and better at that, where now you can basically do so much with natural language. But terminals have always scared me because I don't know these like little like get commands here or all these little CDs, like how do I speak computer? So what you're doing there is you're saying codex .. and you're asking the question, and then it will basically run those commands for you.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you for explaining. So I totally agree with what you're saying. And yeah, this is just a shortcut. Let me just close this. So if I want to use Codex, I can type Codex.
Yeah.
And then I can ask.
And then you can type directly in there, right?
Yeah. If I just do -- hello, that it's just sort of
that works the same way. That's cool. I like that. Yeah.
I
like the
so that's all that's happening. But yeah, what you're saying totally makes sense. And actually, I think an interesting thing is that people who are not coding all day, like PMs or maybe like folks like you when you were early in your journey or whatever, often
I'm not coding all day still.
Are
very experimental still.
Some of the best AI prompters actually are folks who are like semi-technical in their day-to-day rather than like full always coding, because they're used to like not having the time to like go super deep, and they're used to like figuring out how to explain what they want with just the right amount of ambiguity, right? So that it's like, whoever is actually doing the work will like actually come up with a better answer than you could come up with, because they know what to do way better than you, right?
Yeah,
totally.
Instead of telling them something specific that may or may not be the right thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, I want to ask you a couple of questions specific to like basically the problems that I've had with coding with AI. And you might have good answers for these, you might not, but it's all good either way. So
cool. By the way, sorry, I just opened this to check if the moons are appearing.
Let's see it.
Who knows? I did say remove all the controls, which might have been the wrong. I was trying to figure out what I could change in the plan. So we don't have much we can do, but okay, what is that? Wow, I don't know what that feature is.
A moon just shot off.
Whoa.
There's a moon rotating around. So, kind of worked. All right. Okay. What are your questions?
Okay. So like, let's say you could keep that up I feel like the solar system's a good example. So sometimes what'll happen when you're vibe coding something is you'll code yourself into a hole where the AI gets confused and can't backtrack. And worse is when you're using a vibe coding platform and it's like, I just fixed it. And then you look at it and you're like, no, you didn't. You absolutely did not fix it. And then it just keeps lying to you and gaslighting you. What are your strategies for getting out of that situation? Does that happen in Codex, or what would you do if you were in that situation?
Yeah. So I think one thing is just like a lot of the code that we tend to be writing, it's more like, if you want to use the term, it's like more like vibe engineering, right? So like people are like reading the code and like looking at it. So unless we're like just like prototyping or something, usually the workflow is much like more human in the loop than just like go off on a prompt. So I think oftentimes you'll see things where like people will ask for a plan and then they'll like work on the plan, like together. Or maybe you'll ask for the agent to just like build the entire feature that you have in mind. Actually, we tend to like doing something we call best of N, where like in Codex Cloud, we'll like run Codex like maybe say 4 times on the same idea, same task. Or even locally, we might do it in work trees or like multiple repo clones. I can show that, but I think that's a bit advanced, so maybe I won't show it. But the point is that you'll ask the model to solve the same problem 4 times. And then we might look at it and be like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about doing it that way. Or now I understand that there's this like other way to do it. And then I might just like start from scratch and be like, cool, okay, here's exactly how I want you to do it, right? Because we've looked at a plan or we've seen something. And we'll like do often like, and then like aggressively create new chats if you find the agent getting stuck. And ask for like very specifically what you want. Right. Personally, I have found that I don't need to create new chats nearly as often as I used to. Like I used to create new chats really aggressively because I would find that the model would like not do super well as context got really long. But recently, actually, I've found that like the longer the chat goes, the model has more context on what we're doing.
Right.
And so I just haven't had that problem as much.
Do you say that compaction will help with that? Like, let's say you get to a point where you're like, you do have errors and you're still trying to debug it. Like, how does the compaction impact that?
Yeah, it's interesting. At least from most people that I've spoken to and myself, like compaction is like very specifically useful for like really hard tasks. But like in sort of like day-to-day, more like interactive coding or like, vibe engineering, more thing, then I don't think you're like super likely going to like run into like that context window. I think a lot of us are naturally kind of like compartmentalizing like each cycle of what we want to do.
Yeah. My second question, I think that's a great answer. I think that's really helpful, which is essentially you want to do multiple versions and maybe do it more like incrementally when you get to a point where you're stuck. And test things maybe separately, and then you can bring that back in. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yeah, but I think what I would say is like you want to be thoughtful about like basically, we have these amazing like AI superpowers now, and then I think you just have to decide how you want to spend your time, right? So like I think the first question is like, what are you trying to achieve, right? Are you trying to just like learn something with a prototype? If so, then just go off, don't read any of the code. But like also like if the code becomes like hard to maintain, which will happen nowadays with where models are at, it could happen, then you don't really care, right? Whereas if you're like, if we're building Codex, like what I just showed you, then, it's going to be much more like, you're making like very careful changes. You're looking at them, carefully, you're going slowly. Maybe you sometimes vibe code something, but like often you will like, you don't expect to just merge the vibe coded thing if it's a hard, complicated task. Like I expected to merge, like when I wrote that prompt, I'm like, this is for sure going to work. Right. But the more complex the task is, then the more you're not expecting to just like merge a vibe coded thing. You're expecting to like use that to massively accelerate yourself, but you're still going to be involved to make sure that like architecturally it's sound so you don't get stuck.
I would say that's true if you're using it for writing or other tasks as well, where it's like you can't expect it to just go off and write you something. Like you do have to be prepared to like incrementally edit and tweak it. We had a question in the chat that was, but on that point, how much knowledge do you need to know about programming to get the job done in the end? Which is part of my second question, which is if you are trying to deploy something, we've seen a lot of really cool vibe coded demos, but how do you actually, like, how does your team, when you actually launch something, like say you wanted to launch the solar system app, what do you do? What do you do? How much knowledge do you need to do it, and how do you launch it?
Yeah. So, I mean, the question is like, yeah, how much knowledge do you need about programming? I mean, this is a common question. It's like, is it worth learning software engineering and computer science? And I definitely think it is worth learning computer science still. And I still think if you want to build something like really meaningful, then you still want to understand like the underlying systems that you're going to be working with, and you still want to be an expert. The difference is that you just are a massively accelerated expert. You know, whereas I think, you know, I don't think we're going to reach the point where I don't think we even want to reach the point where, you know, there's no point learning computer science anymore, because learning computer science is fun. It's just like what learning computer science was like, let's say, like, let's go back like 5 years, like what learning computer science was 5 years ago is different than what it was 20 years ago. Right.
Yeah.
Or 10 years ago. And so like what learning computer science means is evolving, but like you should still definitely be learning it.
And maybe the answer is trying something like, you know, if you're working in these and you're, you know, vibe coding, vibe engineering your projects, you know, setting aside even time each day to make sure you're really understanding processes and maybe architecture and going back. Because I feel like we're going to have a lot of people kind of bootstrapping this over the next few years, you know, and learning along the way. And maybe that's, I don't know that I would say it's equally valuable, but I feel like you might walk away with something very different than what you would walk away from in a traditional university setting, just by the nature of it being so much more very, very hands-on day one.
Yeah. I mean, that I think I agree with, in the sense that I think that, well, some people are great at just like reading textbooks and learning. I'm personally someone who is a little bit in between, but I learn best when I just have a problem that I want to solve, and I like get all my knowledge just in time. Yeah, you know, I'm like always a bit outside my comfort zone and what I know. That's the best way for me. Yeah. And I think that like there are many places where that is hard. Like, you know, I studied both mechanical engineering and then computer science in university. And if you want to do mechanical engineering stuff, you need like you know, machine shop. You need all this stuff. It's like really hard. And then the machine shop is dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So you need instruction, right? It's like hard to just start doing things. There's a little bit more of a boundary. Whereas now with software, it's always been really easy to start doing things. With AI, it's like even easier to start doing things. And so I think that is a real like amazing progress for people who learn by doing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's a good call.
Yeah, I think that's evolving.
Yeah, I would say it's also not just engineering and software, and it's you know, that could apply to anything. I mean, you could stumble your way through, you know, understanding literature just as well, or understanding, I don't know, sociology, for example, and have a different approach. And maybe it's all of those approaches is where success lies for people, is, you know,
being more of a generalist.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I think being more of a generalist, maybe, but even if you want to be an expert in a certain field, I think you can also be like very accelerated, right? Like, so we use Codex at OpenAI. You know, I'm a generalist in my role, right? So I'm doing like sort of the easier side of code changes, like really easy ones for like what's getting deployed, medium ones for what's getting prototyped, you know, just trying stuff. I use it a ton to answer questions about the code base, so I don't have to bother engineers. So like me and folks like me on like product teams are using AI and Codex a ton for those kinds of use cases. Then we have engineers, right? And they're like more specialized of a function, and they're using Codex to just be like massively accelerated. Like I gave the example of like Sora, like Atlas was like some of the top Codex users internally at OpenAI. I mean, like basically, you know, nearly all of technical staff at OpenAI is using Codex. And engineering, it's like a massive accelerant for us. And there was a time where Codex usage was like growing, but it like went from like a little bit under 50% to like over 90%. I forget the exact months, but it was like earlier this year, like spring or summer, and then like fall.
I was going to guess May. There was a moment where it just felt like all of a sudden OpenAI was cooking with gas fast on everything.
Yeah. I mean, GPT-5 launching and then all the like Codex models after that were like really big for us. And you know, we improved the product a ton as well. And so there was a time where we were just noticing like, wow, the people working with Codex are like making like 70% more PRs. per time period. And like, that's not like that's the best way to measure engineering productivity, but it was like an easy thing that we could just pull. And so we saw productivity go up a ton there within engineering. And like then projects like Atlas, which we just launched, have been like, there's like amazing anecdotes of like engineers saying like, yeah, what used to take like maybe like 3 engineers 3 weeks is now 1 engineer 1 week.
Wow.
So we've been working so much faster thanks to that. And then you could take like arguably an even more specialized function like research, and like researchers are using Codex a ton as well, you know, as part of like how they're doing training runs. They're doing a lot of interesting things, like also like across research and design and other functions to like analyze and like understand what's going on. Like previously it would be quite expensive to write code for like a one-off analysis, but now you can, or you could write like a custom viewer for like, you know, to evaluate like how the model is doing. And we're even starting to experiment with like using Codex like as part of like deciding how to handle like training runs as they're ongoing.
Ooh. Oh, that's smart.
I don't think this was all in response to like, I think like people like me, I'm thrilled to have these tools because as a generalist, it's very useful for me. But I also think that if you're a specialist, you can actually use it to just like go way faster down your specialty as well.
Totally.
That makes sense.
The 2 other barriers that I face, right? The first one we covered, which is what do you do when it gets stuck in this loop and you don't know what to do? The second one is how do you actually take like a vibe coded thing and then get it out to the world? Like you mentioned Sora, you made that app in 18 days. Like obviously you guys are professional engineers, but if I wanted to make an app and get it on the App Store, with Codex, what would be the process? How could I do that?
I hear from people doing that all the time, actually.
Awesome.
Again, I think it starts with like, what do you want, right? Like Sora, is a very serious project from us. So it was not vibe coded, right? It was, again, it was vibe engineered. So a ton of the code is written using Codex, but there were humans like highly qualified humans in the loop the whole way through, right? Like really great engineers who like know exactly what they're doing, and you've been using AI for a while. So I think if that is your goal, then you should be treating Codex as a massive accelerant to your own productivity, but ultimately like you are still treating this like an engineer. You're being very thoughtful about architecture. You're defining that before you get started on what you're building and like telling the model what the architecture is, using tools like planning to make sure that it builds in that way. Maybe being more modular with code than before, so it's easier to test and like easier to trust like units of code without like having to like make a ton of changes or even like arguably review all the code super carefully if you trust.
So you kind of want to understand like the different modules yourself so that you trust it and you know how it works.
You definitely want to be doing things like writing in like typed languages. Actually, I really think like even compiled languages are kind of almost there's like a potential comeback for them, like Codex is in Rust, because it's like gives you even more confidence that the code is going to work if it passes its validation conditions. You enable code review, which is actually something I can show as well, briefly.
Cool.
More stuff of like Codex just being a teammate. One thing we have is we have Codex set up to work in GitHub. So, here's an example. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's head of DevX here, and he made his PR. And
you ready for me to bring that up, or you want me to wait a minute?
Oh yeah, sorry, bring it up. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure before I hit the button.
Before you reveal secrets.
Yeah. No, thank you. So, so he was writing this PR for GPT-OSS, and this is the kind of thing that if I was like code reviewing this, I'm depending on how sort of rushed I am, like I don't know if I would read this like super carefully, but you probably should. But the beauty is like Codex doesn't get tired, so you can send Codex in, and it'll just like automatically. It's like, hey, I think you should like, this is an issue. This is a real issue. Here's another one that was like quite interesting, where, let's see, what was the issue? Yeah, it's like, hey, I found some issues. The streaming code has some issue here. I actually haven't read this yet, but basically, then we ask, is this useful? React thumbs up, and so he thumbs up, and then, Hamash is like, yeah, good point. Codex, please fix, and then like. Codex.
And how did you get to this point where you called the reviewer? How do you
the
reviewer?
So you can set this up in your Codex settings. If you go to Codex Web, you go to settings, then code review, then you can turn it on. Super easy. You just need to connect to GitHub. And a lot of the time, if you're making simple PRs, you'll just get the thumbs up emoji. But it's actually one of the most popular like sort of integrations that we built for Codex, where again, Codex feels like a teammate. So bringing it back to like, if you want to deploy Codex code, like deploy Codex lab engineered work, like having code review is like just an excellent way to like increase the confidence. Like when we first rolled this out, we were actually quite nervous that people would hate it and just be like, I don't want bots telling me that my code is bad. So we intentionally like trained it to be the Codex models to be great at code review, and we trained them to have a very low false positive rate. So basically what that means is we were like, hey, for now, like you don't need to flag like every single opinion you have about the code. Just flag when you think it's a real problem, like a serious one.
Yeah.
It's turned out to be a really popular feature at OpenAI and also outside of OpenAI.
This is related to my third barrier, which is security. Like if I'm a total noob and I know nothing about coding and security, how do I use Codex to make sure that my code is as secure as possible? Would it be through this process, or?
Yeah, I would say connect to GitHub and have Codex code review, look at your PRs. You can also do this in Codex itself. So I could pull up Codex here and I can type /review and then ask for, basically this will just run the same process. I could be like, yeah, like please review, the most recent commit, right? And it'll go review it. We announced recently a beta of something called Aardvark, which is like custom designed for security and security teams. So I'm really excited for Aardvark to come out of beta and just like become a standard part of how we make sure code, whether or not it's written by humans or AIs, is like maximally secure.
Would that be a separate agent from Codex? Would it be inside Codex, or is that still to be determined?
Well, I mean, like it's separate right now. And, if I think about who's using it, like it's like mostly for security engineers, but I also think that the capability of like just like a really good security reviewer is probably something that every engineer should have.
Right.
It might be a different form factor. So I could imagine, we're still figuring this out, but I could imagine like just us making sure that Codex is excellent at security review, but that doesn't mean we don't want a product that's like specifically amazing for security engineers, which is like a smaller population within the company.
Right.
So, that's
smaller population, but still crucial in the world for sure. Exactly. I mean, especially with, when you think of things like we talked to the guy from Threat Down recently about the patch gap and how much quicker bad actors are able to attack what you're doing. There's not a months and months delay anymore like there once was. It just keeps getting quicker. And I guess if you're throwing something out into the world that is, we'll call it loose, you could have real problems.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. I think with Aardvark, we're seeing that like, not only are we identifying issues, especially when people newly deploy it, like we identify issues and like, wow, I can't believe we didn't know about this. But then also the way that the beta works right now is that when it identifies an issue, it attempts to reproduce the issue. And like can demonstrate that the issue is real, and then it will like actually send Codex in the Codex cloud to go like fix the issue, and then it can like test if the issue just no longer reproduces. And so I think Aardvark in a way is like, because it's like a very specific thing that it actually uses Codex for many things under the hood.
Oh wow!
It's building a very specific product for a very specific audience, so they're kind of like speed running it. I think it's a bit of a glimpse of the future.
Oh wow!
So by the way, so all this is to say, like this is, I think, for what you should do if you want to use Codex for something that a production like serious project. I think if you're using Codex for something that's like much more prototypey, experimental, throwaway, then I think if it's just like a single player tool that doesn't have any user data in it, like you could just put it out there, like it's fine. Put it up. You see a lot of like Next.js projects coded with Codex, and then you can like deploy them on a tool like Vercel or something.
That's
I think the one place where you want to have considerations is just like if you're asking users to upload data, then you got to make sure you do right by making sure that it's secure enough for whatever you're asking for.
Yeah, that's a can of worms that I'm still figuring out.
and some of it I think is just a matter of being, as someone who is not an engineer, but really enjoys tinkering in here and learning as I go. And I've learned so much over time. There's still so much out there, but there are certain things that I'm just kind of naturally gun shy about. And one of those is security fears, causing some problem for, maybe people who want to use the app or something. And I really love that you're taking an approach to that. And Codex is this come a long way. And what's it been now? Has it been a year?
Has it even?
I forget what month we launched the research preview in, but it's one of the M months.
Time in AI is a little odd. It's kind of, it all blurs together. I still can't believe you just had ChatGPT's 3rd birthday.
Yeah. I actually had a weird question about that. I'd love to get your take on this. So we talk a lot about fast takeoff scenarios with AI, where the AI is recursively improving itself, and then that leads to this intelligence explosion. But I wonder if such a thing could happen with people's skills in AI. So a lot of times I feel like trying to keep up with the news, there's so much stuff coming out and people seem like they're accelerating way past my ability or other people's ability. But then I was also thinking, we've seen cases in history where there's entire continents or countries that leapfrog certain technology waves. Do you think that there's something to this idea that there's a fast takeoff for people who are really good at using the AI tools? And could someone go from almost leapfrogging the traditional coding pathway to, if they jump on that train and they're able to accelerate themselves, they maybe skip the need to learn some of this stuff?
Yeah, okay, so this is something I care about a lot, actually. So, our mission at OpenAI, I might not get the exact wording right, but our mission at OpenAI is to ensure that AGI benefits all humanity. And I believe, we're going to have amazing AI capabilities and AGI, and we already have amazing AI capabilities, though. So the AI part is already so powerful, but actually there's still a ton of work to just bring those capabilities to all humanity right now, right? We have a lot of new models coming, but even if we didn't, I could just, as a product person, work for years, to help make sure that people get the benefits. And, if you think about AI adoption, I think there's broadly 3 phases. The first is where we have these incredibly powerful technologies exposed to you in very simple ways, right? And so, chat, you can just go do anything. And Codex, even mostly for coding, but it turns out coding is a good way to use a computer. So you can actually use Codex to do non-coding work. And
sure.
But the product doesn't help you do that, but you could do it if you know what you're doing, or if you were creative with how you prompt. And so that's kind of the first thing, this first phase of it's open-ended and it's powerful and you should decide what you want to do. And this first phase puts all the onus on us to be online and read about stuff and take time, when you're not busy to try using AI. So it's this is a really fun time for tinkerers, which I guess is like you guys and me.
Yeah.
But it's also hard, right? So then there's this next phase, which I think we're just entering now, where actually what we want to do is we want to make it so the tinkerers can help the non-tinkerers, right? People who are too busy to try random prompting ideas should be able to just set Codex up or ChatGPT up or any tool up to so that everyone else can use it. So we're actually working. I can show you a feature that we haven't shipped yet, but it's we're open source, so everything is in the open. I can show you something that we're
that'd be amazing.
Sounds great.
So that's the second phase, right? Where you don't maybe Grant figures something out and then Corey just gets it, and then Corey figures something out and then Grant just gets it. You don't have to figure it out. And then the third thing is where you no longer have to think about using the feature or using AI. AI is just a teammate, and it's just helpful for you without you having to do any work. And I think if we want to have a takeoff in terms of humans getting value from AI, we need to be at this phase where you don't actually have to think about using AI. AI just helps you, right?
Yeah.
And I actually think that you were just showing Cursor, which has an amazing tap complete model, right? I was using VS Code, which has a great tap completion model. And that tab completion is actually a really basic example of a feature that existed before AI, but it's a feature that you don't have to think about AI. It just does stuff, and you're just yes, no, right? So in my mind, I think about how do we get to a world where I get to tinker, So we're not overly prescriptive, but I get to tinker. My tinkering is helpful to all my friends and all my team. And then we can just turn stuff on that's helpful without anyone having to try. So
yeah,
to show this over a screen share, this is just an illustration, but we can show the pieces of this.
Let me know when you're good. No.
Oh yeah, you can put it up. Sorry, yeah, you can put it up.
Okay.
So is it okay that the check comments are here? It's fine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Everyone can see them.
Yeah. So like this is the open-ended part, right? This is super powerful. I can ask this to do something totally non-coding related or powerful in coding, but it's pretty open-ended, right?
Yeah.
You probably have to read Twitter to know what to do with this, if you're not, or you could, right?
Yeah.
So that's the one extreme, right? The other extreme is like you don't actually have to think about using AI. It just is helpful automatically. So actually, I did show you something like that already, which was here, right? We've decided that when someone at OpenAI submits a PR, Codex just goes and reviews that PR, right? And
before it even gets to the person in the queue.
Yeah, exactly. And so at this time, like, you could decide to do this. This part is still like, you still have to decide to do this, right? But we're starting to do things of value immediately. And so something I think about is like, where are more places where we can do this? And this isn't like, let's just go plaster AI everywhere. I think we actually need to be really tasteful in terms of how we do it, because we want to be in a world where, like, we are paying a lot of attention to like the sanctity of human attention, I guess. So like, we had kind of a funny number of debates about how, when their review looks good, what should we do, right? A lot of people were like, hey, I would like a comment that would be more clear. The problem is a comment sends an email. So, we ended up with a thumbs up. You could argue if that's right or not, but the idea is like human attention is really important. Like, don't waste it.
And we like emojis.
Yeah, that too. So that's the other extreme, right? So then the middle extreme is actually something that actually a bunch of the other CLIs have already, but we're starting to really lean into. And so now we have this experimental feature. Enable is how you turn on experimental feature called skills.
Oh yeah, this is cool.
And so one skill is the OpenAI job skill. And so finding open roles at OpenAI. And so partly I wanted to show this because we're hiring and I want you all to know. But partly, this is like a weird thing to use Codex for, right? Like, Codex is a coding tool. Like, you just told me all this stuff about how to work in a repo. Like, why would I use it this way? But and a contrived example. But I could say, like, is the Codex team hiring? By the way, this is very fresh. This is like a few days old. But the idea here is that this is that middle ground where, like, someone on the team can figure out this Codex skill, this OpenAI job skill would make sense, and then they can make that available to like other people or like the broader team.
Hey, look at that!
Oh, no, it's gonna work.
I love it.
Wait, sorry, a bit experimental. I'm gonna do this to make it work.
YOLO.
YOLO. So a little bit of a cheeky name. But yeah, okay. Anyways, you get the idea. That's kind of the picture we're trying to paint. It's like a world where you can use it open-endedly. There's like very deep configuration that you can push to your team. Skills just being a small part of that, and then you can automate things so that they're like whatever you want, like whatever value you want is just provided.
This is a minor thing. I was hoping to touch on this, but we're getting close to time. But as far as tools and connectors go, what is the difference between like a connector and a skill in your mind? I know they are different, but
so we'll probably refine this because we haven't actually like published like our thinking on it. There's just like some PRs in the open source repo. But my thinking is that like connectors are basically ways to use like other tools or like gather context. Great. A skill, the way that I think about it, is actually more of a set of instructions that create a capability. That capability might include a connector. So an example would be, we might have a connector to say Sentry, right? And so you could use the Sentry to like identify crashes that you want to fix. But like the truth is, like, if I navigate to the Sentry website right now, I will have to do a ton of work to click around to get to my team's crashes, and then I'll have to like click around some more to get to which things I care about, right? So there's actually a bunch beyond the connector that I might want to prompt. And so you could have a Sentry connector you could have a Sentry skill like vaguely, but what I might really want on my team is I might want a skill that is like identify Sentry crashes related to the most recent release, specifically pertaining to the code that I wrote.
Okay.
You know? And then like investigate changes and plan the fix. And like for me, all of that thing that I just said is like one skill.
Right.
Okay.
So
you're sending it to look specifically for your stuff most recent. Yeah.
For example, right? Or maybe if there's an on-call skill, there could be a Sentry on-call skill, and that one actually produces like an output that lists everything by engineer and like sends an email, right? So at least that's how we're thinking about it right now.
You also in the plan.md, would you address connectors there? Like for instance, if I was creating a project that's going to talk to, like one of the things I do is I do video game design on the side. So like I have a Godot connector that I'm working with, which is open source game tool. So would I address whatever project I'm working on, like, oh, use the Godot connector in my plan.md, or then do all of that there? Or how do you do it at OpenAI?
So this is maybe taking one step back, but the way that I would think about making Codex successful, I don't actually have anything written down for this, but we could just...
That's okay.
So, the first step is just like install it in your favorite tool, right? So like it could be like your IDE or your terminal. So that's step one, right? Then step two is just test it. Like you don't need to overthink it.
Yeah.
And then I think from there you want to configure. And the way that I think about configuration is you want to do, first you want to set up what I would call the inner dev loop.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the outer dev loop. And then there's like automation. So the inner dev loop is basically like, does Codex know where you keep your context? Does it know how you like to write code? And like, you should just test it because it probably will just infer your style, but there might be things about your style that are hard to infer. Is it able to run tests? And so forth. And so a lot of that is just, you can just tell it in agents.md, okay, this is how we like to work, right?
Yeah.
I'm really excited for skills because a lot of skills, there might be like, maybe there's a skill that you use in your inner dev loop using Godot, right? And so you might want to make a skill that says, this is the, I don't know. Sorry, I'm not familiar with Godot, but like, this is how to use it, blah, blah, blah. This is when. And then in your agents.md, you'd be like, this is our inner dev loop. And like this part here where we validate our changes, you need to use the Godot connector.
Right.
Kind of describe
Excellent.
Yeah.
That makes good sense. I love the agents.md idea as a whole, just the idea that you can be in there and be like, here's how I like to do things. Here's what I want, whenever possible, use this repo, use this, the ability to go in and really kind of control that and have it move forward and act, taking those steps for you is really awesome. And it's kind of takes away the idea that maybe it's a cookie cutter approach for every engineer or vibe coder out there. It's, I noticed in talking to people just this week, one of the things was that a thing engineers and writers have in common is that, they have a style. They have the tools they like. They have the approach they like. They have the libraries they love, the style guides they enjoy. And I think this is a really cool way to be able to hold on to some of that creativity as a developer as well.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, the idea is to give you as much control as possible, right? This is just the thing to accelerate you.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's the inner dev loop. The outer dev loop is like, where do you track your tasks? Where do you brainstorm your ideas? What do you do after you've written a PR? Pull request, like how do you review it? So you could like set up Codex. And today a lot of people do this with agents.md, but I think a lot of this is actually going to make more sense with skills. Like, okay, here's like a code review helper skill that like automatically addresses all code review feedback that you get.
Wow.
So that's the outer dev loop. And then automation is the idea of like, okay, I tend to want it to do these things all the time. Let me set it up. So today we have the Codex SDK, which you can use and you can just build automations around. And SDK is basically a really convenient interface to use Codex programmatically. That's something we're thinking about too, just how to make that even more out of the box for people.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, we're just about at time here. Is there anything else you want to share with us, or demo, or just any parting thoughts for the crew?
It's funny. I keep remembering things that I can demo, but I feel like I'm tapped out on demos.
That's fair. We went 2 hours. I appreciate you were so down to do this.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, like, I would just say try out Codex. Try it on your if you're like a professional engineer, like try it on a real hard task that you have. See where it works and where it doesn't work, and like set up the inner dev loop and then the outer dev loop, and then do missions. It's been really fun working on it. We've grown 20x since August now.
Wow. 20x. You guys grow in exponentials, and that's just got to be such an experience at a workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, it's basically a superpower for us internally. It's like a massive accelerant to the rest of the company. So I think, I just can't wait to ship a lot of the new stuff that I couldn't show you. But there's a lot coming, and you should come check it out.
Excellent. Can't wait to see it, man. Can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, yeah.
Also, if you are an engineer or a product manager or designer and you want to work on Codex, or a salesperson and you want to come work on Codex, like, please go check out the job site and apply. And just, mention you found out through this podcast.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Alexander, very much. I think this is a really good thing. It's helped me tremendously just listening and watching, and I'm coming away with what is definitely a clearer understanding of how I'm going to go tear into it this weekend as soon as I'm home.
I want to see my cat website.
Yeah.
What did you say? Yeah. Cool. How did it end?
Let's see.
Let me
you need me to bring you up.
Yeah.
Okay. There is more cats. It's via emoji, but
yeah, I have noticed it tends to put emojis instead of images. You kind of have to tell it to put images, but
hey, Kwin Cottle just asked, do you all have educators on the team?
We work closely with a team in OpenAI called Developer Experience. That's like folks like Oman, who was just featured in the screen share, or like Dom, or people I work closely with. And so I guess you could call them educators.
Excellent. Grant, is your screen shared?
I got kicked out. I'm logging back in.
We can't have that. Well, while Grant's getting back in, just a reminder to everyone, if you're here today, we are so grateful that you've joined us, and we hope you'll continue to come back for a long time to come. Please like, subscribe, do all of the things that help us bring you awesome guests and cool new products to talk about. Also, make sure you stop by, sign up for the Neuron newsletter at theneuron.ai. Join 630-ish thousand people who read it every morning, and we'd love for you to be one of them.
It's not letting me rejoin, so I'll have to include the screenshots of the cat with the email that we go out recapping this.
There we go.
So I'll send it to you, Alexander. I'll show you the cats.
One last question as we close. Recommended IDE. Would it be VS Code?
There's so many good IDEs. I would say I personally use VS Code. Cursor is awesome. I know a lot of folks who do more like Java development and Python really like the JetBrains IDEs, like PyCharm or IntelliJ. So those would be my off the cuff.
Excellent.
Do you have any other like tools that you use?
Tools. I like. It's funny. I was just talking to the founder of a terminal tool that I like, Zach at Warp. I used to use it all the time. Now I use Ghosty, which is a cool terminal.
Yeah, I saw that a little while ago.
Yeah. I think don't sleep on Atlas. It's there's a whole rant there, but I think that a rant about like what the future is there. But I think it's really interesting to sort of just switch to a mode where it's like, okay, I'm going to like make sure that AI can see the sites that I'm on when I want it to, so that I can ask it questions about it. So like earlier, you actually mentioned an article that I was like, oh yeah, I need to like refresh my memory on that. You didn't end up asking me about it. So I like went into Atlas and like, I literally launched Atlas in order to like load the article. And then I was like, summarize this. So like that kind of stuff is very valuable.
I'm still anxiously awaiting Atlas on Windows. That's my,
we are. Yeah. I mean, Codex is working on it.
I heard that's awesome.
We heard rumors there might be a 12 Days of Christmas this year. Can you confirm or deny? It's okay if you can't.
I don't know.
Okay.
No telling.
Fair enough.
All right, see you guys.
Hey, Alexander, we sure appreciate it. Thanks to everyone, and we'll see you next time. All right. Let's see.